Hello, everybody. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, and goodbye. No, I'm only kidding. How are we all? Hope everybody is doing really rather marvelously well, as my friend Warren Hewitt would say. So, we've already got quite a bunch of people in the chat already, which is very impressive. All my regular gang are pretty much here already. Thomas is the first in the door. He was very early saying good morning. I'm actually going to put the timestamps on because I don't have them on just now. Yeah, Thomas was very early at half an hour before showtime. So I hope everyone has had a great week. I know some of you may not have because of good old coronavirus. It's been entertaining, let's just say that, for us here in Lipsham Manor, I guess I could call it. My wife is self-isolating, so she's here for the whole week, and I've been basically on daddy duty for the whole weekend, sort of Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so I've not really been about very much. I've been posting here and there, been answering questions here and there on Facebook and in the forum as well, but most of the time I've not really been about because I've had to look after my two crazy kids and keep them away from mummy, which has been really hard because that's the last thing they want to do. The last thing they want to do is be away from mummy. So, it is what it is. It's not much fun. None of us is enjoying it too terribly much, but we are trying to make the best out of it and actually go, you know what, this is actually giving us time which we otherwise ordinarily just wouldn't have. So, it's giving us time to do things that we wouldn't ordinarily have the time to do, especially during the regular working week. So it's been pretty tough. So I've been trying to be Mr. Domestic Deity, which never works out really that well. To say the least, I'm not that good at it. So yeah, she's self-isolating because she has a cold. I have a bit of a cold, and I'm hoping that I can not have it anymore. Because I need to take my kids to school in the morning and all of that. And I also do an hour every morning in the school with the kids as well, doing percussion teaching and that kind of thing for an hour every morning. And I probably won't be able to do that anymore, certainly at the moment anyway, and possibly for the next sort of few weeks. So I at the very least want to be able to drop the kids off and get them sorted out for getting off to their school. They are still decanted from their main school building, which means they arrive at their school, they get registered, and then they get loaded onto coaches and go to 5 different locations. My kids, fortunately, my son and daughter are both going to the same school at the moment, as the same temporary school. For those of you who don't know what on earth I'm talking about, my kids' school had a very serious fire back in February. And so the school is currently a building site and a fire investigation site still. So the kids are totally off-site and are temporarily in several different schools. So mornings are fun because we have to register them. Then I help get the kids loaded up in their classes onto their coaches and stuff like that. So that's what I do in the mornings instead of my percussion class, which is it's different, I suppose. Just Bob says, Johnny, you and JG were ahead of the curve with the toilet paper song. Yeah, maybe we should have made that song, and it kind of would have been a prophetic song, I guess. So let's see. Mike Neighbor is here. He says the sun is still up and you're on YouTube. I still hate daylight saving time. Yeah, it's for you guys it's 6 p.m. If you're in the central time area, it's 6 p.m. And here it's 11 p.m. So it's a whole hour earlier for me. So I'm much more with it, much more alert, and much more awake than I ordinarily would. So It's good. Let's see what else we got going on before we get stuck into the song that we've been working on. Somebody said, I forget who it was, somebody said they wanted my hoodie. Yes, it's nice, isn't it? Presonus hoodie. Thank you very much, Presonus, for sending me this. They sent it to me when? Just before Christmas, kind of November time. And I will be able to explain all in due course as to why I have this. I'll explain all, don't worry. Lollipop Guild is here. Hello. She says, you have had the rug ripped out from under you in multiple ways. Hang in there. Yeah, it sounds like chaos. It is. Yeah, it's been a case of one thing has followed another. We've had the school fire, and then we've had coronavirus, and kind of on top of that, we've had colds. Now, one of the reasons why my wife is kind of very quickly into self-isolating, even though she has just a slight cold, is because she nearly died of pneumonia in 2004. So she's already had a very serious respiratory condition. So from that point of view, because of that, she's a bit of a high-risk case. So something like COVID-19 is not good for her. So we have to keep her away from it as much as possible. Hard part is that because she is a midwife, she works for the National Health Service. So she's coming into contact with vulnerable people all the time, babies and mothers. They are among some of the most vulnerable people on the planet. So she cares for them, and she's extremely good at her job. And I think she's pretty desperate to be back, to be honest. But she knows, the wise thing to do is to stay at home for now. So she has the bedroom all to herself. Hooray for her. And the kids have the upstairs, the attic, to their entire selves, but they have always had that, and I have the lounge. The lounge is temporarily my bedroom for the meantime until this is kind of, for us anyway, we are clear of it, and then hopefully everything will go back to normal. Alrighty, so we are, let me just straighten my chair up a bit. There we go. We are 10 minutes in. Excuse me for snorting and snuffling. I have a tiny bit of a cold as well, which I'm hoping is going to go away. And I get the doghouse. Yeah, well, it's funny you should say that. We did actually talk about me getting like a little fold-away that I could just put at the back of the studio, a little fold-away bed. On some levels that'd be really helpful, because sometimes I have to work very, very late at night because I work with clients around the world, and sometimes I need to be on their time zone rather than my own. So sometimes, it might be helpful. All right, so we are working on this song, which at the moment does not have a title, but it will have one. You can be sure of that. And you guys are going to provide the title when we get to that point. We're not there yet. At the moment, we just kind of have a vaguely sketched out groove, which we are going to expand upon and add to. Now, as you recall, Michael Johnson last week suggested, hey, why don't you do the 2 chord challenge? I was just like, you know what? I haven't actually done mine yet. So yes, why not? So we have a G minor chord and a C minor chord. Except what I'm doing, and this is not me bending my own rules, okay? What I'm doing is I'm treating it as 2 modes. So I have G Dorian and C Dorian, and those are kind of my 2 key centers, if you like. You can do it that way if you want, or you can be very strict. It depends upon kind of the music that you're doing. If you are doing the 2 chord challenge, you might not be, and that's fine. But in my case, I am going to, and I'm basically only using a C Dorian, a G Dorian, and a C Dorian key center. Now, why have I said I'm going to be modal about this? Because it means it opens up a whole range of different chord voicings that I can use. I don't have to be strictly kind of, hey, there's my G minor. There's my C minor. Let's kill the reverb. I don't have to be. I don't have to be strict like that. If you want to be strict like that, go ahead. You know, that really might well work for you. But for me, I'm kind of going... that's my first one, and then this one. And so I'm making my chords out of those scales, okay? It's not cheating. It really isn't. It's just kind of thinking slightly laterally about how it's going to work. Okay, let's get over to Studio One. By pressing that button there. There we go. We are in Studio One now. So, let's have a listen to what we have so far. And hopefully we don't get a nasty little copyright ID claim. Especially now we've got a few other things going on here. We shouldn't get them now because hopefully the algorithm will be suitably confused by the fact that we have a Fender Rhodes part and a bass part now. And it should sound totally different to whatever it was that they were trying to claim. More on that as it unfolds, by the way, because that's still kind of under review. Okay, here we go. Oh, jeepers, that was loud. Pull that back a little bit. Alrighty, that's what we have so far. So, you notice that since last week, I've actually gone ahead and used the arranger track a little bit. And I've labeled this A, then A2, then B, and then A. So for this song, I'm going to use, in terms of form and structure, because we're talking about an instrumental tune rather than a vocal song, I am going to use something called Rondo Form, if you have ever heard of that. But we're going to kind of use it as Rondo Form with a twist. What is Rondo Form? Rondo Form is where a particular section of a piece keeps coming back, and there are different pieces of new material in between. So it's kind of like a chorus, I guess, that keeps on coming round with different new bits of material alternating with it. So if you were to use letters to describe it, you'd have, it's the A that keeps coming back. So you'd have A, B, A, C, A, D, A, E, A, F, A, and so on and so forth. Very popular in the late classical period and early romantic period. Particularly, it's used sometimes if you're writing a symphony in the classical period, middle classical period, kind of mid to late Mozart period. It would be the third movement of your symphony. It would be a rondo, which is what this is, A, B, A, C, A, D, A, E, A, and so on and so forth. But we're going to use a slight twist on this, and that is this. Because this at the moment is only 1 minute and 16 seconds long, which is a little bit on the short side, this whole section here, this AABA section, this is going to be our section A. All right. Then we're going to do another section, which will be our B section, which will have an AABA all of its own. And then we will bring back the original A section, AABA. So it'll be overall A, then B, then A. So overall, it's going to be ternary form, an A, then a B, then an A. But within each section, it will have its own AABA structure. Does that make sense? So each one of these is 8 bars. So 8 bars, 8 bars, 8 bars, 8 bars. So each section is always going to be 8 bars. So we have AABA here, and then the next section will also have its own AABA, but it will be different material. Slightly different material. And the way we're going to do it, the way we're going to make the variation work, because we are limited to 2 modes, is we are going to make the variations work by instrumentation and by arrangement. So we will be adjusting the texture. We'll be changing the texture from thin to thick and everything in between. And we'll be changing timbre as well. So where we might have horns, we won't have horns. Where we have strings, we won't have horns, and so on and so forth. Whatever. I haven't really thought that far down the road as yet. Oh, and I've just been sent an attachment. That's nice. So that's kind of where my mind is going. So this could end up being sort of a little bit of an epic work. So it could end up being about 5 or 6 minutes long. So the A section here, this is going to be what I would call our head. And this is where the main melody is going to be contained. So this is the bit that's going to have the main written melody. And then the next section, our B section, is going to have much more improvisation built into it. And then we will bring this A section back again to finish the piece off. So it's head, kind of improvised section, and then head again to finish. And then we'll come up with a nice little ending rather than a fade out. I don't like fade outs too terribly much. All right, so that's kind of where we're going to go. So what we're going to that's kind of how we're going to go over the next few weeks. Okay, so tonight we're probably just going to get guitar parts done, rhythm section guitar parts done here. And then I would anticipate that next week we will get the main melody done, and we will decide what instruments are going to play that main melody. What are we going to have? We're going to have trumpets, saxophone, trombone kind of playing in unison. Why not? I mean, it's kind of like small band jazz funk, I suppose you could call this. Or are we going to talk, we talked about last week maybe making this big band kind of jazz rock kind of thing. We could certainly do that. And we can make those kind of decisions next week. But really I want to flesh out a little bit more of the rhythm section for this main head section. All right, so I hope you guys are digging that as an idea. I'm going to go back to this view over here so I can see what you guys have been saying over the last minute or two. Let's see. Ken is here. Hello, he says, wishing you the best. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Mike Neighbor says, why don't you just get a camping air mattress? I could do that. I'm not that much of a fan of air mattresses, and believe me, I have slept on my fair share of those kind of things. In my in my late teens and early 20s, actually into my late 20s, every year I would go on a camp for about 6-7 weeks. And for most of the time, I was sleeping in a tent for those 6-7 weeks. It was great fun. No, I actually don't mind camping. I'm just not a big fan of those camping mattresses. The air beds. They're just not very comfortable for me. I'd wake up in the morning with really sore hips and back and didn't like it too terribly much. But, it was what I had to do. Mike Johnson says, I believe JL and I did originally agree inversions are okay. Absolutely. Yes. Chord inversions are absolutely fine. You can do whatever you like harmonically within the confines of that kind of G minor area and C minor area. Lollipop Kill says COVID-19 TP Scream. There's a good one. Coronavirus Shuffle. Yeah, that would work if this was a shuffle, which it ain't. It's kind of a little bit more kind of straight down the line rock, but nice title. Bobby says, need an acoustic guitar. That might actually work quite nicely. A little bit of acoustic, kind of as part of the bed. Kyle says cornet out of Maynard Ferguson. Maynard Ferguson did not play cornet. He was a trumpet guy, but he was particularly famous for his extreme high register trumpet playing. And I guess Arturo Sandoval would be the next generation of that extreme high register playing. Arturo is an incredible trumpet player. I don't think I've ever heard the trumpet played quite in the way he does. Not only does he play incredibly high notes, but he plays the instrument phenomenally fast. I don't think I've ever heard a trumpet played that fast. I mean, pretty much the valves are being pressed so fast, I would imagine that they are only depressed for maybe 4 milliseconds at the most. Maybe less, maybe, 2 milliseconds before it's being released again. So the air is literally going through the 3 valves incredibly fast. It's amazing watching him play. I've seen him at Ronnie Scott's a few times in London, because I used to live there. Musical scat. Ooh, now there's an idea. A little bit of scat singing to go with it. Why not? We could certainly think about that for next week, for sure. Alrighty. Hipsters and lipsters. I like that, actually, Just Bob. That's actually quite cool. So we got 23 people here and 9 likes. It'd be nice if we had a little bit more parity between likes and people watching. So if you are watching and this is kind of something you are digging, then certainly hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And if you've got something to contribute, then definitely post it in the chat. I would love your contributions to this. Even if you're just chatting amongst yourselves, that's fine. But if you have an idea for this particular piece of music, then please suggest it by all means. I read pretty much all suggestions, and I will take the ones that I like the most and apply them to the song. So your idea may well make it into this final song, for sure. All right, let's get going. Let's get back over to Studio Win. And I need to press that button there and that button there. There we go. And we're back over in Studio One. So I'm thinking what we need to do right now is we need to get some guitars going. And I have an idea of maybe having 2, maybe even 3 rhythm guitar parts in this bad boy that we can spread about a little bit. So let's get some Presence XT action going. Before I do that, I need to switch on the extremely elderly MIDI controller keyboard, which was brand spanking new in 1994. It takes a little longer these days to power itself up. Are we done? I think we're done. Good. Right, let's go and get Presence XT in here. Let's see, what guitars could we have? Let's see. I don't know. Should we try for a Telecaster kind of sound? We'll take off some of the effects just now. What are we going to do? Kind of a little G minor 9 kind of action. Maybe a bit of G minor 11 action going on. We should get some Empire action going on this as well, actually. Let's see. Empire. Let's see. What kind of a guitar sound do we want for this? Let's see what we got. Yeah, maybe not that kind of sound. Let's go for something clean. I have no idea what any of these presets are like, by the way, folks. Okay, that's kind of nice if you're into rockabilly. Let's try a little bit of this guy. Oh, I quite like that. Let's just try that in the track. Let's try this. Yeah, I've kind of got some ideas going on. We could build stacks of fourths. That's a little bit too Mixolydian for my liking. Let's see. I like this tremolo effect, but can we slow it down a little bit? Let's try that. Something like that, maybe. Let's try that. There's a lot of experimentation that goes on here. Maybe it should mirror the Fender Rhodes and maybe go on the other side. If I were to pan the Rhodes to maybe a little bit towards the left and maybe put this guitar on the right and have it play almost exactly the same thing. Maybe a little less rhythm, but certainly following the same voicings, perhaps, might be a little bit of a plan there. Let's give that a try, see what that actually sounds like. Yeah, let's do that. And then you guys can decide if you like this or not. Alrighty, I think that works quite nicely. I reckon. So let's should we quantize any of this, or should we just leave it as? I think I'll just leave it as, to be honest. And we'll copy paste that across that way like that. There we go. That's what we get. Although that first note here, this should be a little bit tighter, I think. Maybe that should be a little bit tighter too. That is a little bit of a blue note. I don't mind blue notes generally, but on this occasion... I think the rest are fine. I think the rest are fine as they are. And we'll call this guitar 1. Quick tip here, if you hold down shift and press enter, all the event names will change to the same as what the track name is. So if I do, without the capitals, guitar 1, hold down shift, press enter, boing, there you go. And really I could do the same with the bass actually, I just never did it last week. So if I do bass, shift, enter, boing, and there they go. See, I see boing instead of boom because that's something that Joe Gilder does. He says boom, so I'm going to say boing. There we go. All right, so what do you guys think? Hopefully that is to your satisfaction for guitar part 1. Let's go and have a look at what you guys are having to say. Dave is here. Hello, Dave. He says, hope you're all doing well and staying safe. Yes, we are staying safe. We are washing our hands. Some people have said, hey, you got to wash your hands. Well, actually, the general advice is wash your hands for 20 seconds, right? So, and a lot of people are saying, you know, sing happy birthday twice. And that's the correct amount of time for you to wash your hands properly. Well, being the jazz nerd that I am, I worked out that at a tempo of 320 beats a minute, I can sing the entire head of Charlie Parker's Cherokee in those 20 seconds. And so that's kind of what I do in my head. I have scat sung it sometimes, and people just think I'm absolutely bonkers and think that I probably have COVID-19 and should... And worse, probably I have mad cow disease as well, and should probably be in an insane asylum in a padded cell with one of those nice jackets on. But I beg to differ. I just find that works for me. Charlie Parker's Cherokee works. Let's see. Mike Neighbors says you need to stagger the notes a bit. Yes, you're absolutely right. You can't play all the notes on the guitar like you can on the piano. You can a little bit. If you play fingerstyle and pluck the strings together, you can. So if I was to play that fingerstyle and go da 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 da, you can certainly achieve that kind of much more kind of together kind of sound rather than strumming. You're absolutely right. When you strum, the plectrum goes through all the strings that you're strumming at that particular time, whether you're playing the bottom 3 or bottom 4 strings or more. Then yes, you know, when you're strumming, it kind of, all the notes are kind of a little bit, tiny bit apart. I agree with you there, but if I was to play it fingerstyle, it would work. It would be much more together. And that's kind of the way that I would probably do that rhythm part, would be fingerstyle, personally. Let's see. Dave says, I'll be doing some live streams this week to help pass the time and to give everybody something to do. That's a great idea, Dave. I may well be doing much the same thing. So I know I normally just do my Sunday night live show, but I may well do a few other things as well. Maybe just kind of stream whilst I work or something. I might do something like that. And see what you guys think of that. Let's see. Ken says, I'm hearing at least one guitar doing an inversion of the Rhodes, starting high and coming down. Oh, now that's an idea. I like that. Mark Holly. Hello, Mark. He says, I hear a counter melody of sorts. Yeah, I kind of hear a counter melody as well. Let's see. Mika's here. Hello, Mika. Good to see you. Welcome. Let's see. Lollipop Girl says, hard to do on a keyboard. It's like doing a rolling finger tap on the table. I'm not quite sure what you're referring to there. Oh, pockets jangling, shuffle beat, shiny shoes, box full of sweet. Oh, okay, nice. I like that. 221B Baker Street Stroll. Somebody likes their Sherlock Holmes. Yes. I have actually been there. See, here's the thing. Sherlock Holmes was created by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who lived in Edinburgh. And he wrote most of his Sherlock Holmes novels right here in Edinburgh. In fact, he didn't just live in Edinburgh. Certainly early on, he lived in my part of Edinburgh. In fact, in my town, my little village, my part of Edinburgh, which is called Gilmerton. He lived here. And there is a medical centre which is situated on the site of his home. He had a really nice big house, and that house is gone now. It was, unfortunately, it kind of had a very serious fire. It burnt down, and eventually it got bulldozed, and they built a medical centre on the top of it. And it's called the Arthur Conan Doyle Medical Centre. My wife works there. Or at least she's kind of based out of there twice a week. So there you go. Arthur Conan Doyle was from Edinburgh, but spent a lot of his life in London as well, because that's where a lot of all the playwrights and novelists and poets, that's where they kind of based themselves in the, the 1800s. That was the place to be. If you were a serious artist, a serious writer, that was the place to be at that time. But yes, he's an Edinburgh man. A Southeast Edinburgh man, just like me. Okay, let's go back and let's see if we can do a second guitar part. I'm kind of hearing a little bit, maybe a little palm mute thing going on, which we might also introduce. I'm thinking maybe put this guitar we've just done on the right and keep the Rhodes up the middle. And I'm kind of thinking mixing down the line, but this is kind of how I work, okay? And maybe put a couple of other guitars on the other side. Mika says, if you don't play guitar, it might be helpful to get a Mel Bay guitar chord book. Understanding the voice instructions of guitar chords and inversions make for better fake guitar tracks. You're absolutely right. I do have several guitar chord books. I have quite a few. In fact, I have one that's by Alan Holdsworth. Because, he's kind of more in kind of my kind of harmonic palette. And you have to have very, very strong fingers to play his chord voicings. But yeah, absolutely, which is why I have a guitar. I have a guitar because anything that I want to do over here to make a fake guitar part, I try out over there first to make sure that it's actually playable. If it's not playable, I don't use it, generally speaking. But in this instance, where we're up to at the moment, Mika, in the song, we're kind of like roughing everything out, getting the bare bones of scratch tracks done. Obviously, later down the line, if this was going to go on a record of mine, I would replace this with a real guitar player. But I would send them this scratch track and say, hey, here's kind of like my rough idea of what I hear in my head, what I would like, if it's possible to play it. And they would go ahead and, if they couldn't play it, because they'd have to invent a way to play it. I mean, for example, half of Steely Dan's songs, you talk to Larry Carlton and he will tell you, you can't play them on a guitar. You just can't. So you have to pick some of the notes of the chords and play them. You can't play the full voicings of half of Steely Dan songs. And yet Steely Dan songs are replete with guitars. For example, Asia, the title track of the record from 1977, has, I think, 12 different guitar parts. And a lot of those are kind of their guitar choir that they have going on, where everything is layered, and I think it's just like one guitar playing one string at a time, because the voicings are that hard to do on a guitar in, for one person to do, that they actually did that. They kind of made a little guitar horn section, kind of like a guitar big band, if you like. I think is how they did that. So anyway, yes. Want to make another guitar to answer the other one? That's a good idea as well, Bobby. I like that. There's some really good ideas coming out here. Using S1's guitar chord. Oh, yes. I've definitely used the chorder to do guitar string patterns. I've definitely done that. And in fact, we may well do that right here. Okay. You can also set up a macro to create strums from block chords. Yes, you can. There's lots of things you can do. Lots and lots of things you can do, and we may well dive in deep to some of these ideas as we go through the song. But right now, I just want to flesh out roughly the sound I'm looking for. All right, let's hop back over to Studio One, and we will do another guitar. So let's go back over to instruments. Let's get presence in again. And this time we'll use a different guitar. What kind of guitar shall I use? Because I've got a Telecaster, and I kind of like that Telecaster sound on one side. What do we think? Should we go maybe with a Les Paul, see what that's like? I quite like a Les Paul guitar. They are pretty cool. Let's see. It definitely has a very different sound to it. So... Concentrate, Lipsham. Let's see. So you guys are talking about using the chorder. Well, I quite like that idea. Yeah, I do quite like that idea. I have to try and remember how to use it. It's been a while since I've used it. I think you have to do that. And then let's go and see what we got here. Yeah. Chord types. I'm not interested in that really. I'm interested in patterns. I don't want I know what I need. I don't need the chorder. I do not need the chorder. Yeah, I don't want the chorder, so I'm going to undo that. Control Z weddy woo. I think I'm going to use the arpeggiator. And let's see what we've got here. Because I can straighten some of these patterns out quite a bit. Let's go with this, and let's see what we've got here. Now, see, that's got a lot of swing on it, but if we straighten that out. That might be quite good fun. Let's try this one. Oh, that's got a horrible octave leap in it. I don't want that, because you wouldn't do that on a guitar. Let's try this one. And we'll lose the swing there, and we'll take off that hold as well. I don't want to hold it. Now, these guys are a little bit heavy. Let's bring these down a wee bit. maybe if we go back to this swinging chord business, I quite like the pattern there. If we reduce that to eighth notes, maybe that might be better. Or maybe not. Maybe we need to customize this a little bit. Let's see. Let's see what this does. Okay. Can I get rid of that? Let's try that. Yeah, that doesn't sound very nice. Pull it back a bit. Okay, let's make that a little bit softer. Make this one a little bit more. I know, this is a pain in the butt, guys. That might be too similar to the other one. Let's try this. Something like that. I think maybe this might work, or I might need to just actually do something myself. What do you guys think? Do you think I should use the little arpeggiator thing, or do you think I should just drop it all together? What do you guys think? Keep in mind that this open strings sustain differently than fingered notes. Yes, yes, yes. I keep all of that in mind. Open strings are often used as a pedal point in the arsenal. Yes, they most definitely are. Yes, I know, Mike. It doesn't sound like a guitar at all. I'm just getting the idea of it right now. I'm not trying to make it exactly sound specifically 1000% like a guitar right now. I'm just trying to work out the rhythm part. The chord cluster is too close. Yes, I know. I was trying to work out the string pattern or the rhythm of it. Yeah, I was not really that sure that I wanted to use the quarter, but we can go back and we can try the quarter. That's no big deal at all. Let's try that at least. Let's try that at least and see if we were to remove that. I can remember how you do that. How do I remove that? How do I remove? Remove? There we go. Perfect. Let's go and try the quarter again then, shall we? Although the chord are just basically just chord types. I'm not really sure I want that. Diatonic minor groups. Are there any modal groups? Chord types. No, there's no modal groups. Let's try intervals. No. That's a little bit annoying. Okay, let's just for funsies try this. I don't know how this is going to work. Ha ha ha! Oh, that's dark. Yeah, this is why I don't like the chorder, because it limits me to what I want to do, and it makes me want to do one fingery type things, which I'm not really sure I want to do. Let's try something like this. Let's see what this does. Ooh, very pretty. But that's kind of all major seventh. I don't want that. There's a set of minor chords. Let's try this one. Oh, nice set of 11th chords. Yeah, 11th chords don't really work too terribly well here, do they? Let's try this. Okay, let's try this. Yeah. Not digging the chorder, particularly in this case. Gotta say, not digging the chorder, not digging the options that you have, to be honest. Which is why I was much happy with the arpeggiator, because at least it gave me at least something. You know, it gave me some kind of patterns. Or I might just need to do... I might just need to not use this at all. And let's just come up with something that complements. Because at the moment we kind of got this kind of thing. So we want something to do the reverse. I think Ken said a little while back that maybe instead of going up, we should, because everything else goes up, we should go down. So... I've just had an idea. Slightly radical idea, but you know what? It's an idea nonetheless. Why don't we do something that Henry Mancini was quite well known for? Particularly when he was doing TV detective shows and he was doing instrumental music for those. One of the things he liked to do was have bass and guitar doubled, octaves apart. So maybe we could double the bass part on this guitar. Why the heck not? Let's try that, shall we? Yeah, what do you guys think about that? Having the bass doubled like that. I think that's quite cool. You guys might disagree. Let's call this guitar 2. Shift enter, boom. I like that. Yeah, what do you guys think? Do you guys think that that whole doubling thing works? Oops. I forgot to press that button. There we go. Let's see. Remember, a full guitar, a full bar chord can stretch 3 octaves. Yes. Certainly can. Let's see. Yeah, the arpeggiator is very, very powerful. Very, very powerful indeed. You can do tons of stuff with it. And yeah, you'd write a better arpeggio. Yes, you're right. I ended up coming to that conclusion. JG is an excellent player. I'd use him over the ARP. Yeah, Jonny has quite a no offense to Jonny, but he has quite a limited chords vocabulary, and I would need somebody who can play pretty complex voicings, because those are the kind of sounds I like. Let's see. You can build your guitar chords so the notes are next to each other on the keyboard. Yes, you probably can. Lay down your block chords manually, then create the strums. That's a good idea. Actually, Mika, yes, I could certainly do that. Les Paul with wah pedal, play root notes on chords in solo fashion. Yeah, we kind of ended up doing that in the end. Last little riff was a win. You should go back and snag it. Oh, you mean when I was just mucking about? Yeah. Solo the 2 guitars. The octave bass is pretty much doing what I was asking with the Les Paul and wah. Yes. Great. Yeah, the wah thing, you kind of have to automate that, unfortunately. There's not an auto wah in Empire, I don't think. I don't think it's auto. I think it's just you have to automate it open and closed. I don't think it does auto wahing. Is that a verb? Probably not. You want the guitar solo? Okay, I can do that. Give me one little tiny wee second. And we'll go back to Studio One. There we go, and I will solo up these 2 guitars. There you go. That's with drums as well, soloed up. So yeah, hope that helps. I'm trying to figure out what you are thinking. Doubling the bass sounds like a good direction. Yeah, I like that as well, actually. Let's see. Now we're starting to lose viewers a little bit. Wow, we peaked at 30. Woo! That's good. I like that. 30, and we're down to about 17 or 18 now. I think you guys were getting bored of me prattling about with the guitar. But yeah, at the octave bass, I think that's a really good idea. We can vary that when we get to that B section. We can certainly mess about with varying that so that it doesn't sound quite so samey. That's something we can definitely do here, because at the moment when we go to here, I've just noticed something. Yeah, that's what I thought I had noticed. Aha. Naughty, naughty, naughty. This chord is early. Oh. Damn it, that's annoying. Let's see. Let's make them all early. And then we'll just grab those. But we'll not do that. That's not what I wanted to do. Let's move the little suckers. Okay. That's actually going to do that. Let's go. And then let's do that. And then let's go paste like that. But then let's... That's weird. What's that done? Oh no! I think I know what I've done. I've extended that, haven't I? I didn't want to do that. Okay, let's undo all of that. Undo, undo, undo. Undo. And... Okay. I'm a bit annoyed because that was so early. It was meant to start on the next bit. So let's delete those. Let's go over to here. And let's paste those. But it's taking up 2 bars. I don't want it to do that. Oh, that's perfect. Except now we've gone and lost all of that. Nuts. Nuts. Do come on, chaps. Just want those to go away, and I want to be on this one, and then I want to paste. That's all I wanted. Arg. Argy, argy, argy. Oi, oi, oi. Right, let's try that. That's better. Yep, there we go. All right, let's save this before we go any further. And I think we've got something beginning to cook, actually. It's a little bit kind of darker and heavier than I normally do. You know, I'm not really, generally speaking, Mr. kind of rock guy. I'm Mr. kind of jazz funk, avant-garde jazz, kind of weird, you know, free-form, atonal kind of guy. That's kind of what I do. I don't kind of tend to do this kind of stuff. So this is interesting. So it's going to be a little bit dark, a little bit interesting. I have no idea where this is going to go, which is great because it's exciting. I like it. I like excitingness. But we are getting late into the night. So I think probably we should think about ending the show. Let's see. Can you build your guitar? Right, yeah, I've read that one. Let's see. Dwayne is here. He says doubling the bass sounds like a good direction. Yes. Okay, Mika's talking about the presidential delay. Delay? Presidential delay. I meant presidential debate. Just started. Joy. Okay, we're not going to get political here. Lollipop says, I actually watched some live breaking news today. There must be manure falling from the sky about now. Maybe. Let's see. Checking sound on my cell phone. Sounds really good. Awesome. Good to be out of the comfort zone. Yes, I don't get out of the comfort zone often enough. I think we will probably have horns and all sorts of fun stuff going on in this song as well. So that kind of will still be a little bit in my comfort zone, but this kind of like slightly darker, slightly heavier. I mean, to you guys, it probably isn't heavy. To you, it's probably like rockabilly. But to me, this is kind of a little heavy for me. So that said, when I was in my teens, I was in we called ourselves a heavy metal jazz band. And it was literally a fusion of heavy metal and jazz. We played like Charlie Parker tunes with heavy metal beat, you know, that kind of thing. So distorted guitars, the works. But we were fronted by a guy that played electric violin, and the other guy played an electrified trumpet. So we had like electric violin and electrified trumpet. and they were running their instruments through guitar pedals, distortions, all of that, distortion pedals, tube screamers, wah-wah pedals, delays, all of that fun stuff. They ran their instruments through that, and I was the guy at the back on the drums. At the time I had a 6-piece drum set, and smacking out the heaviest beats that I could possibly think of. And because I'm mostly a jazz player, I was using my jazz sticks, and of course going through them like no one's business. I ended up like destroying so many pairs of sticks, just from playing this heavier stuff. And then I decided, hey, I should get some heavier sticks. That makes sense. So yeah, I did play in a heavy metal jazz band for a while in my teens. It was fun. It was fun to do, and we were surprisingly popular. Dark is good. Dark can definitely sometimes be good, and especially when you got coronavirus going on. I intend to kind of have this dark, but make the melody maybe really jaunty and relentlessly happy. So you've got this juxtaposition. I think that'd be quite nice. Dark is supposedly in demand. Yeah, I have heard that as well. I think it's harder to write dark music. Dark lyrics are easy. Yes. Dark music, not so much. See, when I want to write a song that has dark lyrics, this is the way maybe my warped sense of humor works. I like to juxtapose. So I would maybe have really dark lyrics that are about pain and suffering and anguish and heartache and loss and loneliness and those kind of things, and my life is a mess, it's a morose, those kind of things, but I will set it to relentlessly happy and jaunty music. I suppose in that way it's a little bit Tarantino-like, because if you've ever seen the Kill Bill films, I don't know if any of you guys have seen the Kill Bill films, but in the Kill Bill films you have these really, really violent sword fighting scenes with the big kind of Japanese fighting swords, and then you've got this relentlessly happy music that accompanies it. It's just bizarre, and yet it kind of works. Not that I'm really that much into Tarantino kind of films, but you tend to lose count of the number of F words and that kind of stuff that goes on in his movies. But he does have a singular sense of humor. And I guess when it comes to writing songs, maybe I have a teeny weensy little bit of that as well. Where I like to twist something. I don't just write something normal. I write something normal and then I twist it a little bit. And it makes it for me, it's much more fun to write something that's normal and then twist it. Even if you just twist it a little bit, rather than going yink, and giving it full-on rotation, I like to just give it a little bit of a twist. And that might mean, really dark and somber lyrics with something that's a little bit, kind of maybe not quite that jaunty, but certainly just a tad happier than you would think it should be. I like to do that. All right, we are at 1:15 the hour. I don't mind carrying on a little bit longer if you guys are still up for some chats, some questions, or even maybe some suggestions as to what we should do next week. In between now and next week, I will probably add a little bit more guitar work, because guitar work is the bit that takes the longest. Certainly for me, I know I'm faking the guitars, obviously. But I think what we have to have in mind here is that ultimately, once I've finished the arrangement and everything else, what I would do is I would hand off these parts to other musicians, and I would get real musicians in to replace the scratched out fake parts. So, and the reason for that is that I'm not just a fake guitar player, I'm a fake guitar player, because I'm not that great at fake guitar playing, as you have witnessed this evening. So, I would ultimately farm these out to other musicians, and I'd get guys like my great friend Tim Rose, who I've known for 30 years, who he's a fantastic guitar player. He's been playing with Toya Wilcox quite a lot as a bass player, but he plays in pit bands for West End and Broadway shows. He's a wonderful guitar player, and he's a really great guy as well. So I might get him to do some guitar parts because he is just good. He's so good that I can say, "Hey, Tim, could you do it a little bit like this?" And then he sends me a part, and it's just like exactly what I was thinking of, and actually a little bit better than what I was thinking of. That's the kind of things he does. Let's see. Sounds like a drama version theme song for Barney Miller instead of the comedy theme show that we're all familiar with. Yeah, I like that description, actually. That's very good. Fake guitars are good for non-guitar players. Yeah, they are. But you're right. I mean, the thing that I talk about quite often, if you're going to fake something, first, and you're going to put it out there. Now, obviously, ultimately, I would never put out one of my tunes with fake guitars on them. I would replace them pretty much every time with a real guitar player. Or, if I'm faking horns, I would replace them with real people playing them, ultimately. And that's what would go down on my final record. On my final mix, it would have real people on it. But, if you're wanting to get just ideas out there to another guitar player and say, hey, is this actually possible? Try this, see if this is actually possible. If not, feel free to kind of make some adjustments because you're the guitar player, you're the expert, you know how the instrument works better than I do. And not only what's possible, but what would sound best. I do that with Tim. I regularly will send him a guitar part and he'll say, that's good, but have you tried this? And then he'll send me his version of my part and I'll just go, yeah, that's way better. Because he thinks much more like a guitar player than I do. Because he plays guitar all the time. So, are you going to ask the group for submissions at all? You can put up your own two-chord challenges on your own social media platforms. And I would be delighted if you were to send me MP3 mixes of your finished songs. That would be really nice if you could do that. You can email them to me, johnny@johnnylipshamstudios.co.uk. Just put this in the subject, put my two-chord challenge song, and then send me the MP3, and I can bring them all into Studio One, and then maybe once we've finished this kind of thing here, we can have a show where we play a few of your a few excerpts of your songs, if you guys are up for that. If there are going to be copyright issues because of the way you have your SoundCloud or your release media set up, then please let me know beforehand, because copyright strikes are not going to be useful for either of us. Let's see. Has anyone successfully written happy lyrics set to a dark musical background? I do that regularly. I have done that a fair few times. In fact, one of my songs that is out at the moment is called Dig Myself a Hole. And it's directly inspired by the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson and something he said in September. I think it was September. It might have been a wee bit before September, where he had set this arbitrary date of we are leaving the European Union on the 31st of October. Do or die. I would rather die in a ditch than not leave on October 31st, is what he said. I thought, Johnson, that's hilarious. And so I decided to parody that and make it into a song. And it's called Dig Myself a Hole. And it's basically a shuffle blues. Some of you may have already heard it already. If not, then I can play it maybe at the start of next week's show. And it's basically a shuffle blues that just relentlessly takes the complete PISS out of Boris Johnson. Because we didn't leave on October 31st. And he didn't go and fulfill his promise. There you go. That's about as political as I'm going to get. But so I don't tend to write political satire that often. But when somebody who is world famous, whether they are a politician or they are just a public figure in general, if they are going to say something stupid like that, it deserves mockery. You know, even if there's somebody that I politically agree with or ideologically agree with, if they say something daft, I'm going to mock it because it's hilarious. It's worth it. That's all it is. Just Bob says, "Oh, I thought we were helping create. Didn't realize this was going to actually be your 2-chord song challenge. It is my 2-chord song challenge, but you know what? You guys have already given me suggestions as to how I could build this song out. But yeah, if you're just like, I would actually really quite like to do that guitar part, then be my guest. I would not turn that down, frankly. But yeah, at the moment we are just in the roughing out phase. So, you know, if you're playing along, Bob, that's great, because, you know, the more we go through this, the more you're going to hear my guitar part, and you're going to hear how I develop my arrangement. And if you've got a guitar part forming in your mind, you're going to have at least maybe 3 or 4 episodes before we get to the point where I would be wanting to replace. And if that's the case, if you've got something that you think is going to be really cool, then yeah, why the Dickens devil David not? And I don't know why I said any of those. So yeah, I'm definitely taking your suggestions as to kind of things that should go on in this song. I've got some ideas, but you guys are going to help me kind of shape those ideas and form those out. Now, that's kind of my idea, because I wanted to make this interactive with you guys. I didn't want to just kind of go, hey, you know, follow this. Just sit and watch me work. Because sitting and watching me work is kind of probably not that entertaining. Let's see. Mike has just put up a link to my Nimbit page for Dig Myself a Hole. You know what? I've also got that up on Bandcamp as well. Let me go find that, and I will I'll get that for you as well. Bandcamp. Right, mate. I want to log into my Bandcamp. Log in. Okay, let's go to there like that. This is kind of what it sounds like right now. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear this. Against me, my back against the wall, holding all the words, cause I feel 2 feet tall. I'll stand and shout, no holding back. Do or die, gonna dig myself a hole. Oh, do or die, gonna dig myself a hole. Now I hang. All right, so there you go. Little bit of an excerpt of that. I'm gonna control copy. I'm gonna copy paste my Bandcamp into the chat if I can find the blooming chat. Where's it gone? There it is. There's the other link. Mike Neighbors found my Bandcamp. Well done, mate. So we did exactly the same thing. Thank you. Appreciate it. Let's see. No problem. Looking forward to the progression and progress. Progression and progress in the same sentence. I love that. That's awesome. So there you go. A very cool song. Yeah, you can go to my Bandcamp page and you can purchase that if you so wish. Or you can go to my Nimbit page and do exactly the same. Nimbit or Bandcamp. The choice is yours. Bandcamp is probably more kind of well known. Nimbit is owned by Presonus, if you're wondering what that's all about. So when I actually first got Studio One, it came with SoundCloud and Nimbit. And so I created a Nimbit page pretty much out of that, really. At the moment, Nimbit is not getting very much love at the moment from Presonus, but I am hoping that it will do in due course, because it's not been touched in maybe 12, 18 months. So it'd be really nice if they could go in and make it a little bit nicer, a little bit funkier, and, you know, so it kind of compares with Bandcamp. That would be awesome if they could do that. So we will have to wait and see. Lollipop says, my ditch is for rent too, only for a short time. We'll be full of COVID-19 sufferers next month, I suspect. You know what? That's really funny. It's kind of dark humor, but it's funny. And you know what? I think you might be right. All right, folks, we are beginning to dwindle down to about 14 or so people. Ken said something sounded really wonky in the song. Listening on headphones turned out to be my phone ringing. Yeah, I have things like that happen as well. I'm just like, oh, hang on, why has everything gone over to... Oh, that's why. Yeah, that happens to me more often than I dare to think sometimes. All right, so we're building this song out pretty nicely. We've got our kind of TV detective style kind of thing going on here with bass and guitar too. Now, when you just have the bass, the drums, and the guitar like that, it sounds like a proper rock tune, right? It's only when you bring in the Rhodes that it sounds different. So there you go. I think that sounds pretty cool. I think maybe we could have a section where it just drops down to just bass and the doubled bass on the distorted guitar and drums for a section. We could definitely do that. That could be quite cool. And then build back up to kind of everything in. That would be awesome. There's a thought. Somebody remind me that I had that thought, please. That would be great. All right, so there we go. I think we will probably wrap up the show at this point. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming. I appreciate it. You guys are all epic and awesome. And I will see you all on Wednesday over on Jonny's channel for Songwriting Simplified. I have not had any super chats for months. So if you feel the inclination to hit super chat, then certainly do on Wednesday and certainly do next Sunday. That would be cool. If you're digging what I'm doing, I would appreciate it. It's very awesome when you guys do that. But otherwise, I will see you all on... I'm trying to find my button. Hang on just a second. I will see you guys all on Wednesday. Hope you guys have a good start to your week, and I'll see you then. Good night, everybody. Good night, everybody. See you on Wednesday.